What is up, everyone? Hope you're having a wonderful time. My name is Ethan. I go by Lord Ethan, and I'm an Overwatch collegiate varsity coach of 6 years, almost 10k hours, which is enough time to form some pretty prominent opinions. And it's my absolute pleasure today to be examining some support gameplay. This one's going to be from the lower ladder. This is a player called AngelicSoul, and they mention in their notes, hey, so I'm on a loss streak. My highest rank was gold 2, and I've fallen all the way to silver 1. I was hoping to hit platinum, maybe, this season, but at this rate, I'm on the way to bronze, lol. So please save me. Sometimes I feel like I'm healing my heart off, and it's not enough still, and I can't really help with damage since I'm healing so much. Also, I know my aim is something. I can hit impressive things, like I can hit the wall. But I'm sure there are loads of things other than that which I can make better, so I don't fall into the void of low silver and bronze. Well, yeah, this is all good news, actually. For one, you're absolutely right. You can't get by only healing as a support character in Overwatch. We're going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at a very important principle called map control. That's one of the two core principles in Overwatch today, and we'll be able to examine actually some fascinating high-level relationships that exist on the Illari character specific to that core principle, the map control. On top of that, we'll have the opportunity to reflect plenty of times on how you really don't need aim up until a certain point. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Now, I don't necessarily think that we have to bog ourselves down too much looking at compositions, but, you know, they are running a composition that they are wanting to jump on you, right? So just in general, when it comes to the pylon placement, the rule is one corner further back than you think you should place it, okay? That way, when they jump on you and you're forced to walk backwards, they're not shooting the pylon first, and then you're backing off to the pylon, and they have to swing even further to get to you, right? So I would say place pylon right here, over here on this corner, over here on this off angle. Basically, your team is really the only thing that you can heal with your right click, not yourself, and you can only heal yourself with your pylon, right? And so you can heal your team with the beam, even despite its slight nerfedness, and you can keep yourself up with the pylon. So even that pylon, I would say, is too forward. Now, talking about map control, we'll get to the pylons relationship here momentarily, but I do want to mention as well that my core principle in Overwatch is closer to walls, corners, and covers, right? And we are very far away from walls, corners, and covers. In fact, this whole time, we ambiently meander around in what I refer to as the no-no square of Suravasa. This is the space that you really don't want to play in, especially against brawl comps, especially against dive comps. This is you can be surrounded by so many different angles here, and so generally, I would say that actually you are more at risk here in the center of the objective than you would be hugging a corner this close to their spawn, right? Because here you can just peek and then unpeek, right? In fact, you should probably be out here anyways, or at least like fiending for a little bit of an opportunity to do damage. I'm going to err away from telling you to go in and do damage as much as I'm going to want to, but at the very least, what you want to be doing as a Illari, especially on Illari, these high precision characters who want to find these lethal angles and find opportunities for significant instances of damage, you really want to be close to your walls, corners, and covers. Again, you are so much less safe here than you would be right here against the Junkrat. That seems almost counterintuitive, but I promise that is actually the way that it works. You would also be able to contribute to that, participate to that elimination there, which would be fun. Yeah, a nice little pad to the scoreboard. See how close we are to this fight here. So honestly, when playing Illari, one of the things that you also want to be mindful of is not only your walls, corner. Ooh, don't give up on that pick. You can go fight her. I mean, I don't necessarily want you like closing the distance too hard, but it's funny that you walk away from the Kiriko, but then you walk into the Winston bubble here, right? And so this is kind of like what I'm looking for is for us to be conscientious of our spacing, like per the different matchups, right? So against the dive composition, right? Play a little further back, place my pylon a little further back, or a little further forward, depending on if my plan is to go in when they dive, which can be much safer, by the way, than going out when they dive, right? Or I save my pylon for when I finally go in. There's going to be a relationship, again, that we managed to establish here in a little bit. I'll hint to it now, that map control for Illari, the pylon really helps with that. Normally, you're confined to angles, positions, objectives, and most importantly, when it comes to map control, health packs, right? But this is a mobile health pack on a cooldown of, I think, 4 seconds, maybe it's 6 without the perk or something like that. And so I really want us to understand that the Pylon acting as a health pack here buys us a lot of map control for key moments when we would need it. So again, be really, really careful about how on the point we're playing. Like, I would rather see us on an angle, on the high ground. You could be up here in this position. You could be all the way back here. This is actually a really comfortable range for Illari. Earlier when I was talking about spacing and making sure that you're having proper spacing against your opponents, right? Not walking upwards, not walking forward to land your shots, just playing safe distances. In fact, you'll often find that this is something that the great Hottie once told my team when he VOD reviewed us. At one point, even gold players land those shots, because it's not necessarily landing the shot on the target that you need to do. Rather, it's just about being in the position to make the shot the easiest one that you can land here. The shift takes you a little farther out, and honestly, at this point, I would probably just go this way, unless the plan is to fight the Reaper. And if the plan is to fight the Reaper, you can probably ult this. Remember, the policy is if you have it, use it. And honestly, I would at the very least use your shift ability there, right? But see how the pylon is forward, and we get forced back out here? Now, is it clicking for you? Place the pylon back one corner further back than you think you should. It's almost like Brig Eat Rally, you know, with Brig's ultimate, the policy is rally like 30 seconds before you think you should, and generally that's going to be a good rally. It's the same kind of deal with Illari. By the way, I think you can hold your jump key and then you actually get the distance to traverse on this. Maybe just a teeny tiny thing, not something you have to do there. I really like this, by the way. The policy is if you have it, use it. Now, this is probably not the right time to use it. This is really, really bold. This is a I can, I must, I will angle. And so you just want to make sure that you're being mindful. The ultimate there is best used if you can get follow-up on your team. And your indication that you weren't going to be able to get follow-up on your team is not only the kill feed here that you've lost your Zarya, your Mercy, and your Mei, but also that your Sojourn is actively backing up, right? If we see one of our teammates backing up, then releasing our ult, which we would want forward momentum to capitalize off of, ends up, we end up being able to realize that it's less intuitive, right? So for here, remember, we're out in the middle of the open as opposed to cover, right? I would sooner have us shift backwards here so that then we can play our ranges. Reaper would be such an easy pick here compared to the elevated angle from the low ground. You still end up being able to heal your allies here, and I really like that you're still able to maintain the range against the Reaper there. Careful, don't let your resources run out on the Illari. Let them drain all to one sliver of health remaining, or recharge juice, whatever, remaining, and then let that recharge to whatever you need. Make sure to focus the Immor, and honestly, playing a little too close to our targets here. So remember, be mindful of our spacing, right? We don't want to match up against this D.Va. Honestly, D.Va's the kind of character that, like, she's gonna burn you really, really quickly. So you want to be really mindful. And higher up the ladder you go, the more you're going to find, if they look at you, if they see you, and you see that they see you, right? They look at you, you look at them. Don't shoot until you see the whites of their eyes kind of deal, right? They will be developing the means, the plan by which they will kill you. This pylon is too forward. I would place this further back around a corner where they can't blow it up first. Remember, you want it to heal you. You don't really need the pylon to heal your team. Don't you worry. You just won't need it. You'll end up so occupied with doing healing onto your team with your beam, because that's going to be a fast way to generate your ultimate, which, by the way, we're 80% too. So we're thinking, the only thing that we're thinking about is staying as safe as possible. Oh, we got cooked by the bomb. That's a little unlucky. That's an instance of it's always safer in than out, right? See how your team walks inwards, right, whenever we're threatened, and that's what I would call you to do. So again, I said I was going to be careful about the amount of times that I said to go in, do damage, play aggro, stuff like that, because honestly, you're going to get really punished for that depending on the lobby that you're playing in, and you don't really generally want to play so much faster than your own team in these lobbies, but that's an instance of where it's literally always better in, is one of our core principles. Thinking about our map control here, we actually got a really good angle, but we're away from cover, closer to walls, corners, covers. That's my policy. You could even swing as wide here and still be difficult to damage while still being able to generate your ultimate. You're so close, and really all that you're thinking about is building your ult and living during its generation. Be careful, play your matchup really well. D.Va can eat the Sunstrike of Illari, so you want to make sure that you've played or you've launched the Sunstrike after you've seen her go for a defense matrix flicker. And honestly, you can fly, so running in with the shift makes a lot less sense to me than just playing your distance, flying out into the open, or honestly flying around corners and covers, right? You just never want to be out in the open. So flying to walls, corners, and covers, and just landing damage from range, right? I understand that we're gonna feel like our aim isn't real great, but I honestly disagree. We're landing shots consistently onto the body, onto the head. We're applying decent pressure. In fact, I think at this stage of the game, yeah, you even more damage than you have healing. By the way, part of that is because your pylons are just profoundly unhelpful to you and your team. We've got to place those a little bit further back so that we can open up options, right, for when we get forced out of the positions that we would otherwise want to be maintaining, right? So, again, how we place the pylon affects what portion of the map we can control. We can control this space only for as long as the pylon is up in this position, as opposed to we would be able to control all of this space if the pylon is right over here, and we would be able to control it for a lot longer than we'll be able to control this one. In fact, I think I'm going to give this one a countdown. I'm willing to bet this pylon lasts 4 seconds into the first phase of the fight. So here's 1, 2. We'll even go back from the engage phase here on the Winston, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 seconds. 5 seconds that thing lasts, right? Is that map control? Is that what that looks like to you on Illari? Does that pylon that only lasts 5 seconds on a main angle that's healing a Zarya that you would otherwise be able to heal with your beam, that doesn't necessarily free you to buy up, it doesn't necessarily buy you any opportunity to do damage, doesn't free you to do anything other than what you are already doing, right? So where you might be able to use the pylon to justify healing an ally so that you can do damage on an enemy, you're still doing the damage here, right? And doing the healing. So what do you need the pylon for? I'm curious, right? You also don't have the cleanest shots onto the Cassidy because we're not set up on the high ground, and honestly, we would be able to really comfortably play the high ground because of the what is the term? The sprawling cover up here. I don't have the word, actually, the precise one that I'm looking for. And there's plenty of spots to put a pylon. And again, that's for you, right? That's for you and maybe someone else if they're up there, and you can place a new one. At the end of the day, if you place a pylon too far back and you need to replace it, right, then you can absolutely do that. It's a shorter cooldown than if it gets blown up in the choke like it did, and you have to replace it right in front of a Reaper. Again, too far up here on the pylons. It's kind of paradoxical because, again, my policy is like it's always better in than out, right? And generally in Overwatch, that's going to be one of your core rules, especially when you're finding yourself in a spot of trouble. But with Illari, it's almost paradoxical. You want to have that pylon a little bit further out. Personally, I think that the reason for that is because it's just auxiliary healing. It's really just healing to, like, help you maintain certain thresholds whenever people are doing damage to you, right? So I would place it here, right? Or I would place it like back here so that you can scout things out. Because again, you have like I think it's like a 4-second cooldown or 5-second cooldown after you place it. So that one is way too far forward. This one is going to last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one actually lasts a while. Maybe this is a good pylon, right? But it also doesn't really help us here, right? We're probably a little too close to our team, probably a little too close to our threats as well. Remember, they're on a dive comp. They got this Reaper in the backgrounds as well. And remember, we're also out in the open, right? So when we're playing Overwatch, we generally want to move to, we want to be constantly moving, in fact, right, to what I call our next good spot, right? And so these are generally going to be, especially in pre-setup fight phases, which we are in a pre-setup fight phase, right? The fight hasn't quite broken out, but it's about to, and we are setting up, or rather, we're in like this stage right before we get to our setup spots, which is going to be the spot from which we engage, right? And so I have us swinging really wide here, right? This would give us a line of sight on our allies. It would let us be able to heal them. It would give us access to high ground where we could place a much better pylon, a much greedier pylon is perhaps the way that I should say it, but better greedy on Illari, I think are pretty synonymous. See how long we drift listlessly out in the open here and expose ourselves to this vulnerable angle to this Reaper, as opposed to playing the sanctity of an elevated position to give ourselves the easiest possible shots. Even a gold player lands shots from that angle, right? Careful about walking up to your opponent. You have a couple of steps, and this is a big belief of mine. I call it one step in the wrong direction, and that is the idea that, like, you don't need to walk up to the Reaper to land the shots here. You can just play rage, play the rage. Oh, look at him come! And so I really like that. Look at him, what? I really like the shift there. Really, really great, and that shows as well that like we're learning during these maps, which is the biggest encouragement and most heartwarming thing to me is the fact fact that we are actively adapting, right? You've already gotten jumped by the Reaper a couple of times. You've already died with your shift once. You're not going to have that happen again. I do want to remark on how far back you and your Mercy ended up getting forced. It's always better in than out, and if your Zarya is grabbing on the point, then I don't really care at the end of the day if you were a player on my team. I don't really care about who's in your face or why. In fact, we just lost to a ball composition in an absolutely brutal way in our match tonight just because we kept turning around for the ball and thinking that we have to back up when we're threatened instead of going in and taking map control. It was terrible, and I'm not releasing the VODs from that one because I said some very nasty things behind a muted microphone. So go in, right? Make sure you're in, right? We're on the backside of the point in a fight that we're winning, that we have advantages on, that we've just used our Sunstrike and we want to build it as quickly as possible, because you know what would be nice at a 99-99 fight in the context of this objective, this 2-0 match, right? We can close this out right now here in about 30 seconds if we just build our ult really quickly. I really like how we're on the high ground, but I don't really care as much for dropping onto the low ground for like no apparent reason, just to play in the core of our team, which, by the way, thinking about the rules of our matchup, right? Those are the 3 rule sets by which we abide, by which we play the game. That is the character rule set, who am I playing? The compositional rule set, who am I playing this character with, right? And the matchup rule set, who am I playing it against? And I'm curious if dropping off the low ground and then finding yourself floating in the midst of your own team's core in their composition is conducive to winning the matchup against Winston, who loves it when teams are stacked up on top of each other so that he can get tons of cleave off of them. Now, this Winston isn't running the perk that gives him a speed boost for each target that is being electrocuted by his Tesla cannon. I'm sorry, for each opponent that is like tethered to each other on the electricity. I can't remember each opponent who's cleaved, I guess. But against a Winston who does have that perk, you are contributing to him winning, right? And so you want to be careful about that. Okay, this is the point where we were going to get the opportunity to talk about a very fascinating concept, and that is relationships in Overwatch. There is a relationship between your pylon, where it is placed, how much pressure it is susceptible to. You're on the open here, by the way, closer to walls, corners, and covers. And by the way, supports never need to be on the point. In fact, if you are a support player, convince yourself at long last that you do not have to play on the objective. It is a dangerous place. It doesn't have as many walls, corners, covers. That's why we die here, right? It's a place that the rest of our team can play. It's a place that that doesn't give us inherent advantages unless we have our ult, and we don't have our ultimate here, right? They use their window and their blossom on that objective. Their ults were very good there, right? And so if they have ults as well, and we know that they have ults, then that should make the point even more scary for us to play on top of. Instead, we should be looking for angles, whether it's an off angle, which I would personally prefer, especially on the Illari character, and especially since you have a mobile health pack to help you maintain map control, right? So you could swing, you could play literally anywhere you wanted, as long as you're respecting the amount of space that you need to maintain against your unfavorable matchups, and you're still able to, not be so far away from your team that you can be responsive to their needs, either with your right click, or, I mean, hey, if you put a pylon down and you don't take any pressure and your team needs help and, you can't catch up to them, so you just yeet a pylon their direction, that's just as good of a call, right? That can still work for you. And at the end of the day, again, there's a relationship between the pylon, where it's placed, how long it'll last, how much pressure it's susceptible to. That is, who can shoot it, who will be able to shoot it. That one is too far forward. Who's going to use that? That's not going to help you generate your ult. That's not going to help you stay safe. That's not going to help you, right? You get the idea. And so there's a relationship between that pylon and its efficacy, and how easily, how freely you will be able to maneuver the map. Ooh, you told me, you had the audacity, AngelicSoul, to tell me in this description that you can't really help with damage since you're healing so much. But I implore you to give me an answer that will satisfy me. Plot twist, by the way, and actually maybe this surprises no one. I'm a terrible rider, but you won't be able to give me an answer that satisfies me. For healing a Mei who's coming out of cryo instead of finding the damage instances on those who are frozen on point. This is capitalization on your Mei's ult. This is follow-up. That's what that looks like. More damage, especially on the Illari character, right? So it's interesting to see kind of where the priorities fall and kind of how out of order they are, even if they're excellent priorities, right? You still look to follow up with your Mei meaningfully. You're looking to play with her, on top of her. You're still a little too close to this fight. You can play your range as Illari. I mean, this character has an effective range of like, what is it? Isn't it like Widow sightlines? Can't she dual widow on Havana, like, easily. So you can play out the long distances. And again, I know that makes our aim feel unreliable, but I promise it's actually not, right? Because if you're on the middle of the point, on low ground, with the target right in front of you, where just the slightest movement puts them immediately out of your field of vision, right? If I'm dueling the Reaper here, and he moves over, and he just moves like right here, right? I won't be able to see him, right? I have to do sweeping moves with my mouse to keep up with that movement, as opposed to here, I just have to move my mouse like ever so slightly, right? So distance actually helps us land cleaner shots. Verticality, right? Angles help us land better shots. Long sight lines that benefit our character's effective ranges help us land better shots. You know what also helps us land better shots? When we aren't taking damage, right? Anytime we're taking damage, that's going to make our angle scary to play. It's going to make us want to back off. You see how you can't do anything besides escape from the Reaper because you are playing in his effective range, right? The range at which he can do damage to you, right? And so if you're playing so far away from the Widow that she can't one-shot you, right, then that can make you comfortable dueling her. If you're playing far away from enough from the Reaper that his pellets only mildly perturb you, right, then you will find that you are able to maintain an angle longer. The longer you can maintain your angle, the more you can take your time between your shots to make sure they land, which is what doesn't happen with the Cassidy. Hey, guess why that doesn't happen? We're out in the open, so we're pressured. Mentally speaking, we are losing the battle against this Cassidy because we know that we are in an unsafe position, and instead of being around walls, corners, and covers, by the way, throw that pylon inside. It doesn't make a difference, but again, the principle is place it a corner further back than you think you should. Because we are out in the open against the Cassidy, and we understand that his TTK is lower than ours, right? His TTK is non-existent. The time that it takes to kill, the time that it takes for him to kill us with Deadeye goes to goes to infinity, actually. It takes forever for him to kill us if we just put ourselves behind a corner. That's really unfortunate that we get, like, caught out here. Honestly, at this point, right, you know that they've captured this objective. You know that they were just here. You know that they might still be moving over here, right? If Overwatch 2 boils down to two principles, timing and map control, then isn't it unfortunate that we end up on a timeline where we end up getting caught out by them as they rotate at the same time as they rotate away, right? In fact, even the Reaper is mindful of the timing of your respawn here, right? So honestly, in this instance, what I'm advising is to just, like, go all the way around, right? You can't help your team if you're dead. There's an old there's an old song I used to listen to called Number One, and it was some kind of other slop, but it had a chorus at one point. I'm looking out for number one, and that's you. You have to look out for number one because you can't do anything to help your team if you aren't alive, right? And so it's so worth it, right? Even though your team is on the point, they're losing health, they're using ults, that they're getting overwhelmed. If you can't traverse to them safely, then don't traverse in a straight line to them. Go use the map, play your health pack, stuff like that. I like your patience here, by the way. I really liked that we sat here. Well, okay, let me clarify. I don't really like that we're sitting here. It's very exposed, and honestly, there's going to be a point where, okay, by the way, the objective, you can control it. You can generate progress on the objective without having to be on top of it. So nobody on this team, in the context of a higher level lobby, should actually be on this point. They would scout you out. They would move forward. They would find Mercy. They already have scouted Mercy. If they've scouted Mercy and she leads them back to you, you will die if your team isn't timing, if your team isn't out by the time they discover you, right? So this is actually a very dangerous position. As soon as I see the fight is, like, becoming lost at this point while I'm moving, I probably just back off and I just wait, right? Again, this is after I move all the way over here because I know that the enemy team is right here after they've captured this objective, right? We want to think about these really that's too far forward, right? By the way, just a corner further back than we think we have to place that pylon, right? Your pylon is so much better here, right? Your pylon is so much better here. Your pylon will be, honestly, so much better like right here, actually, even. I think you could, yeah, but you get the idea. Honestly, if you're, that's especially if you're going to be out instead of in, right? There's a context where you can actually just save the pylon until it's time to touch the point, and then get on the point, throw pylon onto their side of the map, because they're on a dive comp. All they're going to do is push your side of the map, right? So if you just move over here, throw the pylon over here, then you've guaranteed that you can play on the side of the map that they aren't going to dive to until you're playing the side of the map. Does that make sense? That's a really exciting concept. That opens up options for you on the Illari, who can land the shots, who just needs the angles, who just needs the timing. Nice shot on the Mercy, by the way. You're too close to your targets, and that's the only reason that you're dead to Blossom, is because you're playing Illari in the context of, like, playing in the core of your team. But if we're thinking about the nature of our composition, the rules of our composition, how we run our character with this comp, we can actually play from range. They can use our Pylon. Orisa lives forever. Mercy does insane healing numbers and is highly mobile. You heard the Reaper, by the way, on your left, so, you know, you want to make sure that you're turning around and scouting him out. I think he's stalking you. Oh, wait, no, I just heard him. Oh, my God, that's a replay viewer bug. In any case, and Sojourn's always going to be an off angle, and Reaper's going to be able to be in, out, sustain as he needs, and honestly, he needs to play for mega packs anyways, or health packs anyways, if he's going to be anywhere on the field, right? That Pylon's too far forward, by the way. It's just for you. Sorry, I need to stop saying that, but I hope that that helps you kind of drive the idea, right? So we get a really nice shift on the Reaper. We're still moving forward a little bit, which is fine. If the plan is to move forward, then move forward. If the plan is to move back, then move back. But again, we want to move to our next good position. And we would have an opportunity to, like, talk about that, but I think that we have to kind of work through some of these, more, maybe more or less intuitive concepts. Not necessarily that you are an unintuitive player, but rather just there are certain things that are like so intuitive in Overwatch that you don't even think about. Them. One of them is more damage equals less pressure, right? This is what I was talking about when the Cassidy was dead-eyed, right? Or I'm sorry, I don't actually even know. This is what I was talking about earlier, though, when I was talking about like shooting targets to make them shoot you less, or you getting shot at, so it's going to make you shoot less, right? So the more damage you do to someone, the less pressure they're going to be able to deal into you, right? That's intuitive, right? And so those are some of the concepts that I'm looking for you to embrace, right? So placing Pylon further back than we've realized against a dive composition when our nature or our instinct is going to be moving backwards, moving forward, even though it doesn't seem like the right call, playing further away to land some of our shots, right? Again, doesn't seem like it makes sense, but hey, the further away he was, actually, I mean, you got that pick. It was marvelous, right? And then honestly, we haven't actually struggled at all with using our ultimate when we have it. I love this. But again, we want to make sure that we're playing our matchups. That's a really nice Sunstrike. I honestly love that. You don't need to get a big team kill with your ultimate. You don't need to get 5 Sunstruck. You just need to get the one target, meet one condition, right? So that can be the Mercy, that can be the tank, that can be a D-Mech on the Diva, or a pick onto the Soldier who has Blossom. You're too close to your threats here. You can just play your spacing, play your range, right? You honestly, you seem like a more reliable Illari from range anyways. And wow, that's where we end. That one is a fun VOD review to look at, and honestly, I went like way over the allotted time that I had planned for this. I didn't even get to very much talk about the relationship between the Pylon, where it's placed, and like how much time that buys us, how much healing that can do, how much ult that can generate. But we probably need a different Illari VOD to really have the opportunity to flesh out that relationship. That one's probably a premium VOD from an Illari player that we're looking at, where we're going through every scenario, and we're saying, okay, this is how long you would have to play, this is how much healing you might have to play, this is how many fight phases that might last, this is now based on the Pylon, you might be able to move in, you might be able to move out, you might be able to move left, you might be able to move right. And that was another part of the ER that I was really missing, is the map usage, right? And that's something I miss from a lot of players, right? Just in general, you want to try to use as much of the map as possible, right? So the amount of times that I saw you playing on the objective, on the low ground, not around cover, not around corners, in open spaces, not far forward enough to get angles, but still too close that you're taking kind of the damage that you take seems kind of relentless and overbearing, right? Those are all some of the like kind of quizzical counterintuitive things that we find ourselves doing. Oh my goodness, this piece is terrible. I'm gonna go back to Leonard von Kahl. There we go. So those are the kinds of quizzical, kind of counterintuitive moments that we're seeing, and honestly, just minimizing that is going to be really the best way to climb from back from silver to gold and then move into platinum, right? So that's going to be, again, making sure that we're playing our range, playing our angles, putting our Pylon up in really good spots. I know that we had a couple of other VODs that we submitted from some other supports. I probably won't get the chance to look at those, unfortunately, but I'm curious if it's the same kind of things. Now, by the same kind of things, I mean, are we struggling with the same concept on other characters as we are on Illari, which I would say is like playing the character according to the character, right? Illari wants the longer ranges. She wants pylons that are safer, that are really mostly helpful to her. She wants to be able to heal her team, but she also wants to be able to do damage. The best way to do damage is by not shooting into a barrier. The easiest way to not shoot into a barrier is to play angles where the barrier isn't being held in front of us, where we're not being dove, right? And so I think that it's possible that even if we look at things like the Illari, at the like the Lifeweaver and any of the other supports that are in your pool, one of the questions that we might end up asking is, are you playing this character according to their rule sets? And then beyond that, are you playing the character according to your teammates' rule sets or your opponent's rule sets, right? So again, that's going to be not standing in a team against the monkey, minding your distance in the space against the diva so that she can't blow you up while she boosters to you. She has to damage you as she does and then close the distance really, really close to get picks on you. Do you have to play as close to your team as you are when you have a Mercy Zarya Sojourn? And does your Sojourn benefit from a Pylon where it's just you, Sojourn, and your Pylon on an off angle where the Pylon is placed in a spot that's difficult to shoot for the enemy team, right? These are all things that we could look at and talk and think about. Ultimately, I love these medal ranked replay codes because there's always so much to talk about, so much to get into, and I just don't have the time to burn into all of these details. But Overwatch is full of relationships. There's not a single element of the game which is disconnected from the rest. So at the end of the day, go out, make as many mistakes as you can as quickly as possible, and that's going to be the easiest way for you to rank up. Find those relationships, see what the limit points are, what the break points feel like, what the punishment really sounds like, and how unique it is from scenario to scenario. And that's really going to help to reinforce what you understand you can get away with, your limits. And it's by pushing those that you'll be able to meet the conditions to win your hardest games, which are always going to be the ones that put you over the competitive edge of your ranked goals. AngelicSoul, a huge shout out goes to you for being willing to submit your gameplay and have it reviewed here on the channel. Guys, if you enjoyed the content, found it insightful, educational, then feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below. I actually get some fair amount of feedback on these, and I'm absolutely so beyond open to that. I love seeing you guys' thoughts and opinions, and I'm also getting a real giggle out of how many people have told me, hey, you say a lot of ums and uhs in your videos, and I'm just like, yeah, that's an ongoing effort, a work in progress. We'll get there at one point, but for now, well, there you have it. Guys, thank you as always so much for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Once again, a huge shout out goes to AngelicSoul. And guys, if you're interested in receiving high level professional standard coaching, then feel free to reach out, or you can make a forum post in I think it's like the Overwatch Discord server, and you can ping me in it. I'll probably link the Discord server in the video description. That way anyone can ping me. These take a little while to put out though, so you guys have to be very patient. And if you're interested in setting up setting up something a little bit longer, then feel free to reach out, Lord Ethan on Discord, and we can see about setting something up. I like to be as accommodating as I can, and be affordable, while also really valuing you guys' time and also honestly the insights that we can get out of these codes. It's really exciting stuff. Alrighty guys, that's going to be it. As always, thanks so much for watching. You guys have a wonderful rest of the day. Remember to be good to each other, be kind to yourselves, and I will see you guys on the next one. So long, everyone.